Hi guys, Roberto Valenzuela here. Welcome to this episode of Photo Cookies. Today we're talking about how to turn this massive printer into this amazing photograph. I don't know about you, but I remember my days when I used to go all over town and I used to take notes like, okay, that's a really cool piece of patch of grass and that's a really cool wall and that's a really cool little blah blah blah, and you go all over the place and you try to find like these little treasures of locations, and you're like, what time of the day was this at? It was at 3 p.m. Okay, the lights here, 3 p.m. is here, the wall is perfect. And I think that's amazing and I think that's great, but man, that's a hellhole. Like, who wants to go through that every single time you do a photo shoot? Um, so now I do two things. I print the backgrounds. Okay, I print them. Printing the background, and if you do it big enough, of course, you're probably thinking right now, this is stupid. I don't have a printer like that. I have a desktop printer. The answer to what you're thinking is, I happen to have a Pro 4000, so I use it. But before I even had this, I just went to my local, just like a billion places where they can print big prints for you. All they need is a digital file of the background. So, two things you can do. You can take a photo of a cool background that you like, okay? And of course, not all backgrounds work with every photo, but a lot of the times they do. And what you do is you actually find photos that are out of focus. So when I go out, I take a photo, put the camera on manual, and I actually throw the background to whatever. I take different focuses. So I throw it out of focus a lot, and then I throw it out of focus less, and then I throw it out of focus less. So I have like 3 to 4 to 5 photos. One of the photos is a complete focus of the background, and then the other 2, 3, 4, and 5 photos that I just take, I just basically put the lens on manual focus, and then I just throw it out of focus more and more progressively like that. But this printer prints at 44-inch rolls, and I have 2 rolls in here. So we have a normal roll to print like everyday kind of things, and then we have a fine art roll to print that's made by Hanimuli, and that's made to print like the really beautiful backgrounds that I really wanted to look more realistic. And so now, with the power of beautiful rolls of paper and printing like this, you can actually have way more control of the possibilities that you can think of. Like, you can create cool black and white, create crazy shapes, and then put them in a background, and then print it, and then put the model or your subjects in front. If you're photographing a family, you could put people in, you could take a photo of a beautiful landscape, okay, like a nice little landscape, have a print shop print it for you big, or do like different panels, which is what I do, different panels, and then use that as the background. And with a little practice, and I will show you how, you can actually make it look really realistic, like they were actually there, without ever leaving the comfort of your home studio or your real studio. So let's go back to the studio, and let's see how all of this can be done. Okay guys, let's get right to this photo cookie. This is all about printing your own backgrounds because it's a lot easier. You can get amazing effects, amazing results without having to go searching all over town for the coolest background in the perfect light. A lot of times you don't need to go out and look for these things. A lot of times they're just backgrounds, so you can just print them. So let's take a look at what I do. I do recommend Adobe Stock. I think that's probably the best option, but it's more expensive. And the second option would be for you to go to iStock Images or iStockPhoto.com, which is what I did in this case. Now, what you want is to go to your iStock or Adobe and type out of focus backgrounds or texture backgrounds or abstract backgrounds or any of that. So let's go to out of focus backgrounds. And as you can see, there's a lot of variety between out of focus office buildings, which are not going to be the best choice for you, or you can do something like parks and stuff like that. So you can kind of see how some of these are pretty crazy and some of these are pretty realistic. Now, what you kind of want to find is an image that either has a pure background that's like it's abstract, you don't really know what it is. So something kind of like this. Okay, you can kind of do something like that, black and white. That would be pretty cool. Or another option is for you to go to something like this grass image or like this kind of like park. Now, in this case, in a photo like this is what I call an equally out of focus image. So that kind of thing is where the entire image from the foreground to the middle ground to the background is all equally out of focus. You want to know this and remember this because the tip here is that depending on what kind of image you're printing, it will make it so it's more realistic when people look at the photo, and people will be really tricked into thinking that you are actually in that location, or if there are telltale signs that it's just a printed background or some kind of background that is not really real. So you want to know, you want to pay attention to this, okay? When you have an out of focus background like this, it's probably better for you to shoot from the waist up, okay? You probably wouldn't be able to put people sitting down or like a family or anything like that, because it just looks too out of focus, too equally out of focus. It doesn't quite look realistic. So it might not really work. If you're having people sit down in some sort of Apple box in your studio or in your home studio, you have that kind of background, it might not look too realistic, so just be aware. If you want to make it look more realistic, you gotta find images more like this one, okay? This is the kind of image that has some elements in focus, like in this case, the foreground grass is in focus, and then the rest kind of goes out of focus. That allows you to put the people in the foreground, so in front of this, and because the grass is in focus, it makes it look more three-dimensional. So the background becomes more three-dimensional, and therefore, if you put the person you're photographing like in the front, which is where the grass that's in focus is, then when it goes out of focus in the background, people don't know how far that distance is because it's out of focus, but they have a point of reference that the grass in the front or in the foreground is actually in focus. So that point of reference makes it look realistic. People are used to seeing a photograph with something in focus and then it goes out of focus. It's like a normal thing we all experience. So this is the kind of background you really want to try to find if you want to make it look more realistic that you're in that location. Okay, next, you can also type things like abstract backgrounds, okay? If you type that, in this case, you can actually create some pretty nifty things. Like, for example, imagine doing a high school senior photo and you have some background like something like this, which is kind of cool. Maybe they're wearing red. That would look pretty amazing. So you can see how you can get you can get pretty creative with these things. You can do like a cool blue vignette and then do something where they're wearing orange. So let's say that there's a kid wearing orange and you put them in front of a blue background, so you can really think. And another thing that I would say is if you type textured backgrounds, you can actually get the same similar effect as those hand-painted backgrounds that you have to buy that are really expensive. Now, if you were to print something like this photo right here, you probably would have to just spend, I don't know, maybe $20 or something if you print it like at a print shop in your town. If you print it yourself, of course you have to think about the paper you're using. It has to be a matte paper, because if you print something shiny like a semi-gloss or a glossy paper, when you light up the person, it's going to cause a reflection in the background because it's just paper and you have a ruined situation. But if you print it on matte paper or fine art paper, it's going to be more expensive, but you can also get no reflections whatsoever and it looks amazing. So here's an example of that. This is one of those like textured Muslims that you buy for $400, $500, and some of them that are hand painted high end cost like $2,000. So here you can print it. Okay, obviously the hand painted real stuff is the best. But you know, not all of us have all that kind of cash, right? You can kind of create like you can see how there's some pretty cool stuff. Like imagine doing like a silhouette in front of something like this. It makes people go like, whoa, what's that? It's amazing to be able to print your backgrounds. It's by no means a waste of paper or ink, because the amount of money you're saving on not having to build a set like this, it is like 10 times cheaper, okay? This is the final image that I took. This is what I ended up with, and when the designer of this saw that, they were like, what the freaking hell just happened? Like, that's amazing, because it looks like we built this entire set, but really that background, it's just this wall, okay? I just printed it. So here is the photo of me printing it. So you can see it has, I printed it horizontal in this case, but I actually made the photo when I put the model in front of it. I actually changed it to a vertical orientation. Why? Because if you look at the focus part, let me just increase my brush here. If you look at this, this is one of those backgrounds that has a portion that's in focus, and then it kind of gradually goes out of focus into deep out of focus. So because of that, the trick here, that's a secret, I guess, the key is to put your model where the in focus part is, because it makes sense that you would be focused on the model. So if the model's in focus, it makes sense that whatever's behind her or right near her is also in focus, and then whatever happens to be farther away from her is out of focus. So this works out perfectly. So this is how you do it. When people see this photo, if you look closely, you will never think that this was not done, that this is a printed piece of paper. You would never think this. Okay, you would think this is a straight up set, or there is like an actual lights in the background, which would have been very expensive to do. All right, let me show you what it looked like to do. This is a part of the Instagram post that they did, and check out what it looks like. So there's the lights. She's posing. I'm illuminating the background, but I'm also illuminating her. I'll play it for you again, and you can see how cool that is. Take a look. Let me play this for you one more time. Look at that. And that, and that. Amazing. And then from there, you turn that into this. Tell me this is not crazy awesome. Tell me, write it in the comments. Tell me this is not crazy awesome. Okay, there is no way you would not want to try this. Okay, this is really cool and really fun. And if you get creative and knowledgeable in how to print backgrounds, man, the sky's the limit, because you could pretty much print almost anything. So guys, thank you for watching this quick little photo cookie and printing your own backgrounds. Please subscribe to the channel so we can continue giving you amazing little tips on photography. And also, if you're interested, check out the photocreators.com, which is an amazing hands-on experience that I'm doing for everyone that wants to come to Tucson, Arizona, May 3rd through May 6th, 2021. It is an in-person event. Hopefully by then everything will be back to recovered. There's no more COVID. But the website is thephotocreators.com, and there's only 30 spots left. There's going to be 4 instructors teaching this. It's going to be myself, Joel Grimes, Pratik Naik, and Jennifer Rosenbaum, all teaching you lighting things like this. So check that out, thephotocreators.com. Please subscribe to the channel. We'll see you guys later. Take care. Bye.